Hey guys, the moon landing was fake, but we'll get to that. Today I wanted to basically review a few conspiracy theories and give my rating based on how believable they are or how much I like them, or just some other arbitrary rating. I haven't really decided yet, so let's dive right in. The first one, as I mentioned, that we're going to discuss is the moon landing was fake. Flag moving in the wind, no stars, shadows misaligned. I'm gonna have to give this one a 10 out of 10. That's a stage, the moon landing. The second one we're gonna go over is a more lighthearted one, and I have these written in front of me, so just you gotta forgive me if I look down a little bit. The second one we're gonna go over is a nice lighthearted one, and that is that Earth was sucked into a black hole. The European Organization for Nuclear Research, also known as the CERN, discovered the Higgs boson. I don't know how to pronounce it. Anyway, it's known as the God particle, and they discovered it in 2012. The theory goes that the discovery of this particle basically inadvertently created a black hole that the Earth then was sucked into, and that all of us just weren't aware of it and still aren't aware of it. I'm going to have to give this one a 0 out of 10. Call me a silly goose, but I think I would know if I was sucked into a black hole. The third one I want to discuss is that Disney created Frozen as a way to basically as a cover-up. Cryogenics technology being used to freeze Walt Disney upon his death has been long discussed, but the more recent add-on to that theory is that the whole reason that Frozen was created was basically to mess up the search algorithms in order to make it more difficult for people to learn more information on it or any updates on it or anything like that. And I'm gonna have to give that a let it go out of 10. Let's be honest, cryogenic freezing is something that has been discussed, has been in movies. It's something that we've talked about for a long time, and I think that we're all just sort of over it. And I don't think that making Frozen simply to cover that up really makes any sense, because I don't think people care that much. Next is the Earth is flat. Next we have the government killed JFK. This one I wanted to touch on for just a little bit, if you'll allow me. Hang in there. So JFK was actively trying to abolish the Federal Reserve System during his presidency. It was widely known, it wasn't hidden. And fun fact, the Federal Reserve System is actually privately owned. It's a private organization, a joint stock company, that was created by 12 of the most powerful US banks. Again, privately owned banks. Since the Federal Reserve is in charge of issuing the US dollar, American money is literally just printed by people. And the fact that it was named the Federal Reserve was quite literally done to try to trick people into thinking that it was actually associated with the government and wasn't a private entity. In fact, the president that signed into law basically the existence of the Federal Reserve was President Woodrow Wilson, who later went on to literally say, "I accidentally destroyed my country." So we're gonna give this one a big old 100 out of 10, denying his ignorance. Next, we're going to take a step back and we're going to talk about Bigfoot. The conspiracy that Bigfoot is real. And quite frankly, if he is, I don't really think of it much of as a conspiracy. I think of it more as we just discovered like a new species. But I will say that if they do end up finding that Bigfoot exists, he has got to be incredibly intelligent to be able to basically stay out of the way of cameras and media and civilization as a whole. So I'm gonna give that one a leave him alone out of 10. Number 7, I think, is we're all living in the Matrix. Basically, that we all are a part of a real life simulation. And the part about this theory that gets me is they touch on the reoccurrence or like reappearance of side characters. And I distinctly remember seeing this man when I was very, very little. And I remember looking at him and being like, I know this person. Like, I've seen him before to a T. I recognize his face in detail. I asked my family, I was like, we know that guy. Like, who is that? Why can't I remember his name? And they're like, we have no idea who that person is. Stop pointing. I will never forget that. Like, this man, I looked at him and I feel like he looked at me. I could be making that part up, but I looked at him and was like, that person, like, I've seen them before. Like, I think about that a lot. So 5 out of 10, I'm not convinced, but I'm not entirely not convinced. Next is a solar flare caused the Titanic to sink. This one I'm kind of gonna read a little bit. A study discovered the northern hemisphere was experiencing a moderate to severe magnetic storm on the night of the collision. Similar solar flares are known to cause power outages on Earth, so basically they believe it could have affected the ship's radar and radio rescue signals, which could have led to them not seeing the iceberg, could have led to them not reporting it sooner, things of that nature that could have either prevented it from happening or prevented it from maybe being such a large fatality. I might just be adding on the last part. I'm not 100% sure, just making assumptions here. But I'm gonna give that one a solid 8 out of 10, because why not? Next is that airplane exhaust trails are filled with chemicals. So we're talking chemtrails. The theory goes that an airplane's exhaust trail is, instead of being caused by low temperatures in high altitudes, it's actually just chemicals that the government is loading into the fuel, and that it's being like sprinkled on all of us. But I'm gonna have to give that a solid 1 out of 10. You're right to distrust the government, but that's goofy. Sorry, no gay frogs for us. The last one I want to touch on is birds aren't real. You've heard it here, folks. Birds aren't real. I actually read into this a little bit more. The conspiracy goes that birds aren't real, that they're essentially monitoring devices like government drones, that sort of thing. And the guy who actually started this conspiracy theory remained in character for many, many years. Did not break character, props, but he finally, like years later, admitted that it was a way to essentially parody the heaps of misinformation that Gen Z lives with, and that it was just all satire, which I find insane, because so many people hopped on it and it did its job. You know, props, like it just wow. So yeah, just remember, birds aren't real. And so those are the 10 that I chose to those are the 10 that I chose to touch on today. If you have any others that you would like to tell me about, or you would like to have rated or rate yourself, please let me know in the comments. But until next time, hope to see you next week. Bye.